You too. Hey, congratulations for Windup.
Thank you.
Hey, so Yibing, let's start with you first. Where the original idea came from for your short film?
I mean, we changed the story quite a bit, but it's inspired by my personal experiences. I was often sick when I was a kid. My memory of those days were kind of foggy, but on the other hand, my parents' perspective, the events was way more serious. They told me they spent countless nights taking care of me and fighting their own emotions. I didn't know why they were so worried at the time when I was a kid, but as I got older, I start to emphasize more with my parents. Since I moved to US and far away from home, it makes me the one who always worried about them. Actually, especially recently, since Wuhan is my hometown, like quickly after the news of the whole city shut down, I got word that my uncle had to stop his cancer treatment because of overwhelming COVID patient. And also both my cousins need to work in the hospital where a lot of the coworkers already got infected. I video chat with them as often as we could, but once the camera turns off, all the horrible thoughts would rush back in because the at that time it's new. The virus is new. We really don't know what would happen later. And that was the time we were crunching for this film. I remember we were animating the hospital sequence where father character feels hopeless and sit on the floor. At that moment, I could totally sympathize with his pain. I guess this is a good example of life imitates art, especially now at the time when people around the world are isolating and craving for connections. The story of Windup is very relevant, I think.
Absolutely. Jason, you come from a long line of animators and artists. How did you want to approach something like Windup to make it your own?
I think really when I approach anything, I let the story shine. So whatever, Yibing came to me with this and I connected to the emotional tone of it. My wife became pregnant during production, so I was able to kind of really reflect and think about the father. So everything that drives me from that point on would be what the story upholds. But it is definitely a benefit with my grandfather, who created Family Circus, and my uncle who animated Over the Moon or directed Over the Moon on Netflix and Disney Animator. For something like the style, there's a lot of little tips and things that probably echo in my head. And so that kind of helps me.
Excellent. Yibing, this is your second short film that...
First, like for real, because I made a bunch of like side project, like I made short film by myself, but this is my first time like being a real director.
How was that overall experience for you doing this?
It's there's a lot of challenges, to be honest. There's a lot of lessons I learned. Also, like I feel like there's a bunch of things I think I did right. For example, I decided to make a previous version of the whole film before the cinematographer, editor, and animator started, because this is especially important for this project because we didn't got the full budget at the beginning. So in order to show this project actually, deserve some attention, made a previous version, and then so that can show the story and show the moon and show the style. And from there, the professional artists will add their own experience and intuition to the film to improve my previous to something much, much better. So.
Now, this short film was basically being showcased by Unity using their 3D technology. Could you folks talk about using that technology for an animation short like this?
Yeah, it's definitely helped a lot because since we actually have a team of artists from 10 different countries. And like it's, for example, for animator, since they can actually see the result from their own monitor, they are like actor. They can actually feel like actor in the live action film, because they can see the environment, they can see the lighting, and they can feel the mood, the tone of the movie. So when they performs, it's much emotional and it's much smoother. So I don't need to ask them to like imagine what's the environment should be and try to act. So they save a lot of unnecessary communications, which help a lot.
There's the team of animators, including myself. We're coming from the film industry, and seeing kind of and witnessing real time for the first time for ourselves, and it was pretty mind-blowing kind of revelation. Like, whoa, we could animate and then right away see that final product that the audience sees with the lighting and the glint in Kiki's eyes as she hears the music and on top of the slide. Those are all very important, like Yibing is saying, for us. It kind of really authenticates and inspires our performance. And the faster we can see that, I think the more the performance shines. In traditional animation, where it takes like maybe 3 months to see that final product, and then by that point you're a little disconnected. So huge benefit for the animators.
Also, like as artists, since I work in both like traditional film and then the real-time engine, like in the traditional pipeline, because every step, in order to make a good film, you have a lot of polishing and redoing in every step. And the traditional artists have to imagine how the film would look like as a final product. Usually there's a big difference between the current step and the final film. And it's really common that the animation production, that a lot of polishing work drags out to very end, because only by then we can see something close to resembling the final image. But like real-time rendering fix that by making each department can see the result instantly, so that we can all start together, collaborating and polishing our work in parallel. Yes. Also means like we can try different story ideas, which Jason hates, because I keep on changing the story until the very last minute. We try some ideas like just like it happened several times. That story change required the whole set change. We could easily move the characters and the whole set of animation to a completely different environment, which is unthinkable for a traditional pipeline. And yeah, since we like working in real-time engines, everyone can see other people's work. And like the animator always say, "Whoa, the lighter did a really good job." But sometimes there are like funny things. For example, Alex was working on the one shot and he is like, "This is final, this is good, all good to go." And then boom, the environment artist put a tree there, like right, the character right there, like blocking the characters. So we're like, it's fine, we can move the tree right away. It's something like that. It would never happen.
In the process really nicely.
Yeah, in the traditional animation.
Jason, was using this technology much easier to use, and do you see this as sort of like a fixture in the future animation?
It was pretty easy. I mean, they developed a way that we can use the software that we are used to, and then you kind of export it into Unity, and that's when we can see the kind of the all the lighting and effects happening with the camera. So it was definitely easy. I mean, there was a little bit of learning process, but it didn't change.
Break the game.
Yeah, I broke the game a few times. They call it breaking the game when you mess with the Unity timeline, and that's kind of interesting. everyone is touching this Unity timeline. And in animation, you're just kind of within your one little program, and they know the animators are technically like disabled, so they're like, okay, we'll make it so that the animators cannot erase or break anything, but not with Unity. You can easily erase everything. but I do hope that we do use the real-time engine, whether it's Unity or whatnot, because again, like I said, it really authenticates the performance much better. I mean, it's kind of that one-to-one and hand-drawn animation. My uncle loves to see those rough drawings. I don't know if you've ever seen his animation. It's always this rough, and because he's able to get whatever's in his emotion and in his head faster on paper, the more powerful and the more authentic that performance is. And same kind of concept with real-time rendering.
Wow.
Definitely harder for us, like because because for us it's like some of the people who working, like especially for graphics, like some of us know the engine pretty well, and some of us know how to achieve the film quality. But this is our first time to collaborating with each other, and we try to use the real-time engine to achieve film look, because that's definitely hard. Because like, think about it, we are 30 frames per second, and traditional film probably need a render farm and probably takes hours to render one single frame. So if we do the math, we're millions times faster. And then you want to achieve the same result with, make it even harder, we are using like personal computers, because everyone's working at home. And if it crashes on one person's computer, and then nobody can work. so like we need to make sure, like try a lot of new things and invent a lot of new features. But at the same time, we feel like it's quite rewarding, because we feel like we're changing the history of real-time rendering.
That you guys are the pioneers as we speak, which is terrific. Yibing, one of the things about the short film is the lack of dialogue. Did you want to not put any dialogue in the film to make it more emotional, or did you want to do it because it's like a universal language that the whole world could understand?
At the beginning, we definitely thought about putting the dialogue. But yeah, as you said, in the end, we think that the music is a universal language, and the theme of our story is universal. So we chose to go dialogue free, because we want the people all over the world can connect with it.
Then tell us about the music, about the tunes, and then using the orchestra to play along with the tunes afterwards.
Because the music box in the film is actually the main character, and we want to have our melodies should sound like a song that you can sing along with, instead of like ambient background music like most of the film scores. Fun fact, our producer Alex did the sound effect for 50 movies before he joined Windup, which means he worked with a ton of great composers. That helped a lot, because I don't have connections with composers. So he gave me a long list of demo reel to pick, like which one you thought can fit the storyline the best. I think our composer, Joaquin Garcia, did a really good job, because everyone like working on this film end up humming the melodies nonstop.
That is terrific. I want to talk about the environment, the basis setting of the short film. Which, if that was Wuhan looks beautiful. I have never been to Wuhan. If that was Wuhan, but talk about the attention to details of the environment on the short film. How do you guys pull that off?
Wuhan would look like, because Wuhan was the colony before, so it's kind of look like San Francisco. But definitely it's not Wuhan. went through a lot of reference images. Mostly are from the west part of Asia, like part of Sichuan. And also we have some reference pictures from Tibet and Bhutan. We also get the tree, and one that look like supernatural. I forgot which country, maybe Thailand or with like the reference pictures all over the world. Uh, I'm like a big fan of Evan Earth, and he is the environment design for Sleeping Beauty. I got a reference bit from that because he is like combination of realism and illustration. This is really helpful real-time rendering because we can push the polygon too much. If we go to super realistic, that means a lot of like simple details and things like that, which probably hard to afford on personal computers. So in order to achieve like good result, we try to keep a clean and smooth silhouette of the model. Like most models are pretty simple. And then we add back with illustrated patterns. That's the technique like they use for Sleeping Beauty's background. If you notice the trees of that movie. And for characters, we did the same thing. We give the character, the little girl, a loose, round-fitting sweater, but we add a detail back with knitting pattern, so she wouldn't look too simple.
Yeah, Jason, talk about the development of the looks of the characters themselves, of both the father and daughter, because you wanted to basically come up with a certain type of look, and I notice it's always a trend in like Asian animation is to give us big eyes for some unknown reason. But could you talk about that?
Well, I came aboard and they had the models already there, but I was able to tweak it. We were able, at first I know Yibing wanted her and the father to look a little more Asian, which I still think, I felt that too. I felt like we should make it a bit more Asian. It doesn't have to be the iconic, like big eyes or something, but eyes are the kind of windows to the soul. So it's really nice to have, to be able to see that.
Asian especially people have big eyes too.
Yeah. But I was able to, we did work together to tweak to hit a certain appeal, and what we know, what we see with the characters. But for the personalities, for Kiki, I immediately, when I talked to Yibing, she has this like energy, a spark of life. And so we wanted to use that for Kiki, her love of arts and music and her playfulness as we see her go down that slide and hopscotch over. And especially to have that emotional punch to contrast when we see her in the hospital. And the father, I drew a lot of inspiration because my wife became pregnant and the first time father for myself. And I was able to kind of reflect on that whole scenario and live that.
That's excellent. And one of the things that when audiences watch it, the most notable scene that everyone's going to love is the over the bed look of the collage, the quick flashes. Could you guys talk about putting that little scene into your short film and why it was so important?
It's actually an idea from our cinematographer, Adam. He is a library of films. Like he can target like every single film, like which scene is that. He like got a lot of ideas by watching like classic film, and he's like, for this moment, it's better to use the top down collage. And I really like the idea, so we use that. And it helped to see the transition of the time and how frustrating the father is.
That's excellent. Well, terrific. Well, I have one last question for both of you, because obviously we're talking, via Zoom, because as you mentioned, the pandemic, the world has gone nuts. But I want to know is during this entire time, besides working on Windup, how are you staying sane and creative during times like this?
It's not that same. I was super emotional at that time, especially like as I said, I was video chat with my families and know the situation there. And then like sometimes I'll cry every day, and then during the day I still need to work. So it's hard. It's not like happy.
What about for you, Jason?
I mean, I echo the same thing, Yibing. I mean, it's definitely difficult, especially during these times. And but I also think that's why this film is fairly important, because it kind of inspires this hope in the end, and to never give up, just keep going, and also trying to find sources that inspire us, whether it be films or friends or family, and we're lucky to have technology, it's kind of like the mirrors our production, where we all collaborated around the world even before the pandemic, and now we're all having to do that with the work at home, and using new technology to connect us all. So I think I'm hopeful. So
Excellent. Well, hey, thank you, Yibing. Thank you, Jason, for speaking with me. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. This is terrific.
we can't either.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.